Otherwise, order the acting speaker.
Yilowo nalowo makazithandazele ngokuthe cwaka aziyaleze enkosini yakhe ngokwenkolo yakhe. Thank you very much. We may be seated. Honorable Premier, Honorable MECs, the Chief Whip and the Deputy Chair of Chairs, honorable members, our guests in the gallery, I will introduce some as we proceed with our session and sitting for today. You are all honored members recognized once again on this second day of the sitting. Honorable members, as a reminder once again, our chamber is still undergoing repairs to deal with the ICT challenges that we are experiencing. And as such, we still have as an interim measure sought services of the service provider to assist us with the chamber system to assist our physical plenaries. And all members should therefore not be alarmed by the presence of the staff of the service provider inside the chamber, as the permission has been granted by the Honorable Speaker in terms of powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act of 2004. And members are further advised that only 2 microphones can be on any time or given point, that the presiding officer and the members, when they are speaking, and they must take cognizance of that fact, and as such, members are requested to please minimize switching on and off the microphones unless recognized by the presiding officer, as this may interfere with the microphone of the presiding officer. And we are also requested not to leave with the earphones, as these are for use only in the House. I thank you for your attention, honored members. Are there any notices of motion? Honorable Fihlani.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move without notice in terms of Rule 130 that the House, in terms of the powers afforded to it by Rule 3.1, suspend the provisions of the Rule 73.3, which provides that a committee report may not be debated in the House unless it has been circulated to all members of the legislature at least 2 days prior to the intended debate. These relate to all portfolio committee reports on annual and financial oversight reports, which appears on the order papers as on Wednesday, 7th, and Thursday, 8th of December 2022. This is due to the fact that the portfolio committees were only able to adopt some of these reports Monday and Tuesday, and the others will only be adopted, finishing adoption today, and even others at the end of this plenary. I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Whip. I put the motion, honored members. Thank you, Honorable Mbonyana.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I move without notice in terms of Rules 131 that the House observe Disability Rights Awareness Month under the theme Empowering Persons with Disabilities Through Resourceful, Sustainable and Safe Environment. Honorable members, this month is central to the broader South African government agenda of driving equality and achieving equality, noting that the disability inclusion is essential precondition preserving human rights and achieving sustainable development. To acknowledge that Disability Rights Awareness Month is a call for concrete action to fight and remove all barriers and to empower and improve the quality of life of people with disabilities and those around them. Number 3, to note that with concern, that people with disabilities are one of the most excluded group in society and face gross levels of inequality. Despite all the transformation that the society has undergone, they still face stigma and discrimination at every turn. Acknowledges that South Africa has the necessary policies and legislative framework in place to ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are protected. In 2015, honorable members, political commitment to the cause was demonstrated through the publishing of the white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities. The time has surely come to put the wheels in motion through meaningful implementation and the achievement of the National Disability Rights Agenda as required by the MTSF 2019-2024. To appreciate that reasonable progress, honorable members, has been made over the years towards the advancement of the rights of people with disabilities and eradicating the various challenges that face the disability sector, such as unemployment, poverty, and inequalities. Therefore, resolve, honorable members, for government to work towards ensuring that there is equitable access to all public services by persons with disabilities, with further calls on all relevant stakeholders to bolster their efforts towards the inclusion and integration of persons with disabilities in ensuring that they participate and have full representation in various government programs and fora that will improve their quality of life. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mbonyana. I put the motion. It's without. Thank you very much. Therefore, the motion, honorable member, is noted and it will be debated at a later stage in accordance with Rule 133, subsection 1. Thank you very much. Honorable Fihlani.
Without notice, Lord, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Mbonyana. Thank you very much. I'm also moving in terms of Rule 131 that in 2022, we can no longer ignore the mental health crisis that has plagued our higher education institutions and our society at large. We cannot continue to show indifference to the need to promote mental health awareness and in and outside these institutions and the spaces that we live in. The continued exposure of the students to trauma, lack of support, food insecurity, challenges with gender identity and gender-based violence and femicide in and around university campuses predisposes them to mental health risks that can culminate to self-harm and suicide. The COVID-19 pandemic has also exacerbated the various mental health challenges. The latest violent attacks, which have led to a number of suicides and the loss of lives at the hands of mentally ill, continue to be on the rise, while little to nothing being done. It is concerning that a series of online services that are funded by the South African Medical Research Council, the SAMRAC, launched in 2020, revealed that about 20% of student participants in the study reportedly had poor mental health and needed urgent support into the form of therapy and other low-intensity psychosocial support that can be offered. This service found that there were higher prevalence rates of anxiety disorders and distress in Black students who were studying in historically white universities, and that younger students below the age of 25 in these universities reported higher rates due to their adjusting to a new environment, a new culture, and the higher levels of alienation and marginalization. It's also very disheartening to learn of cases of abuse and lately loss of life at the hands of those who are mentally ill. The Department of Health is very silent on this matter, together with the Department of Social Development, on any programs that might have to assist the mentally ill people. If the mental health is to be prioritized as a critical part of human well-being, different institutions that are inclusive of those of government and some of the social sector needed to collaborate and come up with sustainable solutions that require less bureaucracy. Therefore resolves, the social development needs to work together with the Department of Health in understanding the various mental health challenges that are facing our students and society at large, and understanding the needs to inform the conceptualization of suitable and holistic interventions that will address student challenges, their psychosocial needs, and their unique context to save and safeguard the future of our nation. That the department works hard in creating a program that is specifically tailored to cater for the needs of the mentally ill in our society. That the department provide an update to the portfolio committee on the outcome and plans to address these needs. I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker, in terms of Rule 131.
Thank you. Honored members, the motion is noted and it will then be debated at the later stage in accordance with Rule 133 subsection 1. Let me again invite the honored members to, because I want to put once again Honorable Mbonyana's motion for adoption by the House. I put the motion, agreed? Thank you very much. Honorable Camelio Benjamin.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings to the Honorable Premier, MECs, and all honorable members in the House and our guest. Honorable Deputy Speaker, I move without notice in terms of Rule 130 that this House, one, acknowledge that according to the Auditor General report that has been recently released, it states the followings, and I quote, "In our previous Auditor General, we urged provincial leadership to instill a greater sense of urgency when it comes to improving the audit outcomes of the 3 departments that received qualified audit outcomes, and for those that stagnant on unqualified opinions with findings. The leadership committed to improve audit outcomes and accountability, and there has been some progress in responding to our message," close quote. 2, note that for auditees improved to clean auditees' audit opinions and there were no regressions as a result. The current term of administration has seen a continuous increase in the number of clean audits. Currently, there are 11 clean audits, which accumulates to 52%, which is the highest number of clean audits in the history of our province. 3, also note that the provincial legislature, provincial departments of rural development and agrarian reform and economic development, environmental affairs and tourism, and the Eastern Government Fleet Management Services improved to clean audits by addressing findings on the material findings, on material compliance with legislation and performance reporting. 4, acknowledge that the province irregular expenditure incurred decreased from 3.03 billion in the previous year to 1.35 billion in 2021-22, largely because of the Provincial Transports Department prior period adjustment of 2.1 billion in the previous year due to non-compliance in the procuring bus services. 5, note that the common trend at auditees that obtained or sustained a clean audit was a strong leadership tone at the top, prompt improvement of controls where weaknesses were identified, timeous implementation and monitoring of audit action plans and prior year recommendations, commitment to ensuring that critical positions are filled promptly, audit committee follow-up on internal audit findings. 6, understand that 2 of the public entities in the province, Kucha and the East London Industrial Development Zone, maintained clean audits and exceeded their targets for the number of new investors, signing a combined of 19 new investors with an investment value of 1.5 billion. 7, acknowledge that the Provincial Rural Development and Agricultural Reform Department also spent 99.7% of its budget and achieved 85% of its planned targets relating to agriculture producer support development, assisting with drought relief initiatives that included providing boreholes to farmers and supporting red meat and citrus farmers. 8, note that the Provincial Treasury and Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department implemented initiatives to improve municipality audit outcomes, but these did not yield the desired results because municipalities did not implement the recommendations. These challenges faced included resistance at certain municipalities or unwillingness to implement corrective actions. I so move, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Benjamin. I put the motion, honorable members. Agreed, ngitsho lezandla, ngathi aniyifuni le mo- Thank you very much. Honorable members, those were the motions that were served in terms of our rules, and we are now proceeding, but just before we do that, Honorable Premier, MECs, members of the legislature, we do have our special guest for today once again, and we quite appreciate their attendance during their own time. Anati Latita Keleku, grade 10 from St. Christopher Private School, angaphakama nje, simamkele apha kule ndlu yowisomthetho. Yes, thank you, girl. Entle Mbonyana, grade 12, St. Christopher. Uphu Entle? Oh, yes. Lululo Mbonyana from TikTok Play School. The last born. La TikTok. Ikaneng Ngoti. Thank you, sis. Siyabulela. We quite appreciate, honored members, that you can bring your kids, children here just to come and see and observe that they can see you and appreciate the work that we are doing. Kuhleke xa bezawunimamela nixoxe imicimbi yelizwe in their presence. Iyasinika isazela into yoba masixoxe sazi uba there is future that is coming. Thank you very much. Here is a premier, Nkulumbuso Ephondo, niyibona ngamehlo namhlanje. Members of the cabinet are here. Members of Parliament are here, Secretary of Parliament is here, and HODs is also. They are also here. Thank you very much. You are all welcome. Feel free and watch the proceedings. As next time, it will be you sitting here. Honourable members, we go straight to the member statements, but let me just remind honourable members that those who wish to make a statement are reminded that they have 3 minutes to do so. And the Premier or relevant MEC each have 5 minutes to respond to each statement in terms of the Rule 135A. I will now invite Honorable Fihlani.
As Honorable Deputy Speaker, according to the States SA, the official unemployment rate in the Eastern Cape declined to 42.8% in the 2022 Q2 report compared to other provinces. The Eastern Cape recorded the highest unemployment rate, following Limpopo at 36.3% and Mpumalanga at 36.1%. At a sub-national level, the unemployment rate declined in both metros, BCM down by 6.4% and to 27.3%, and Nelson Mandela Bay Municipal down by 1.7% to the 34.7% in 2022 of Q2. According to the report, year on year, the official unemployment rate decreased by 2 percentage points. The official unemployment rate decreased by 6 in 6 provinces, and the largest reduction was recorded in the Eastern Cape. For us, as the Eastern Cape government, this is an indication that our economic development strategy is beginning to bear fruits. We are also grateful for the collaborative efforts, the impactful partnerships we have enjoyed with the private sector, leading to these great results. But, Honorable Deputy Speaker, this has happened under the provincial government that has pulled strides in investing in economic reconstruction and recovery plan to benefit the people of this province. The decline in the unemployment rate is also attributed by the audit improvement in the audit outcomes in the province, which also assisted in some departments in implementing the organogram to fill the vacancies that were not filled, and this has contributed to job creation and unemployment in the province. The ANC caucus is certain that these positive developments are not an accident of history, but deliberate efforts of government. As such, we applaud the Eastern Cape government to continue leading in all the social partners for the province of the Legends to create more jobs and to grow our economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Cowley.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, in December last year, in response to a question around the need for an aeromedical service over the festive season, the MEC said, and I quote, "The department will ensure that there's an aeromedical service available in the province before the start of the peak holiday season." Unfortunately, this never came to be. A few months back, I again asked whether there were any plans to ensure that there would be an emergency aeromedical service in place before this festive season. Sadly, the short answer is no. Honourable Deputy Speaker, if anyone is severely injured on our roads over the December holidays, they'll have to rely on our severely depleted ambulance service or hope that the department has budget to pay for the private sector assistance. This is unlikely. Deputy Speaker, the Honourable MEC went on to say that this arrangement would continue until the department finalises the procurement process of an aeromedical service. This is because although the tender was advertised in July, the bidders did not have the required documentation and the tender had to be re-advertised. There are several highly competent national aeromedical service providers based in this province who have government contracts in several other provinces in the country and who would happily have provided the service, even on an outsourced basis. So I would like to know the following. Firstly, which companies applied for the tender in July? And secondly, which documentation did they fail to provide? In the most recent emergency medical services report submitted to the committee last month, we have 324 operational ambulances in the province out of 447. This is half of what we require in terms of national norms and standards. However, it is factually impossible to run our ambulances because according to the report, there's a shortfall of 996 employees just to man the operational ambulances in the province. Deputy Speaker, we all know how busy our roads are over the festive season. High traffic volumes coupled with reckless and negligent driving will sadly drive up road accidents and fatalities. We also know how unreachable public ambulance services can be. It is therefore essential that an aeromedical emergency service be available 24/7 over this season, and it is nothing other than pure negligence on the part of the Department of Health that this critical service has, after 18 months, yet to be finalised. Who pays the price for this negligence? It's the people of this province, who in their desperate time of need are left to die on the side of the road, waiting on the empty promises of a fiscally and morally bankrupt health department. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cowley. Honorable Premier, you can assign accordingly in response to the statements.
That was so quick, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to guests and everyone else, honorable members. Well, I think Honorable MEC Meth can attend to the questions from Honorable Cowley. I thought the House will clap to Honorable Fihlani's member statement because what she was saying is something that we should all celebrate as a province. So if you didn't clap, you can clap through you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. But Honorable MEC Meth.
Honorable MEC. Can you switch on, please?
Okay. I'm used to virtual now. I forgot those things. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings to Honorable Premier, Executive Council members, honorable members of the House, and all our guests. If I were the shadow MEC as Honorable Cowley, I would think it's so easy. I understand, Honorable Deputy Speaker. It's not because we are negligent or because of our own morally bankruptcy, as she is saying. We've tried all we could as the department. Unfortunately, we could not get competent and complying bidders in all the attempts that we have tried. Only 2 responses were received from the market, and unfortunately, none of the 2 bidders met all mandatory requirements. Unfortunately, even when I thought Honorable Cowley, who could even go and take using the RT15 in terms of those that are available in the neighboring provinces, the response I got from my official was that even those that were appointed, even though they were not complying with all the requirements. So we could not want to fall into a trap of having an irregular expenditure by appointing people who are not complying. And the department, due to technical issues, we obtained technical independent legal opinion, and we also engaged Treasury, was also of the same opinion that we can't take those few bidders who were non-compliant. So we can even give the names to the honorable member of those who tried to bid but were not able to meet the requirement. We informed them for the reasons for the cancellation. Waiving the bid requirements would have put the department in a compromised position. In terms of the plan, we have a plan, but I've also instructed my department to look if it is worth or it is making any sense in terms of cost to have a permanent service provider appointed who must sit and charge us even when that particular service provider has not done anything, had not delivered any service, so that we can even compare using the challenge that we faced during the intervening period to see how much we spent during the time when we had hired or we had a service provider permanently appointed, or doing the route of going to saying from time to time, we shall lease out and get service providers to help us when the need arises. But we can provide a detailed report on all the attempts that we've done and all those who have bidded, but unfortunately were non-compliant. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. I think we have dispensed with this item, and thank you very much, Honorable Premier, for the responses provided to members' statements. We always encourage members to provide these statements because we are also informing the public using this particular opportunity. Before we proceed, let me also acknowledge in our midst here, Mr. Mark Cronje, a graduate of the Young Leadership Program. He is also in the gallery, and you are also welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Continue doing work for young people of this province and your attendance here. We want more young people to come and witness so that you can provide all necessary advices to the leaders sitting here. Thank you very much for your attendance. Honourable members, we are proceeding now to questions that appear in our question paper, and we are going to allocate an hour for that. Hour is now allocated for questions for oral reply, but may be extended at the discretion of the Speaker in terms of Rule 186, subsection 3. Let me also indicate that there are 63 questions for oral reply in IQP 52 published on the 25th of November 2022, inclusive of 51 oral questions from IQP 48. The questions will be dealt with in terms of the sequence of determining the standing rules 183 subsection 3A to E. And also please note for written reply have been transferred to oral question paper in terms of the standing rule 184 subsection 5. Departments that are commended for the work done, this sterling work can be attributed to the relevant or to the recent workshop which we managed to host and held here with the PLOs. Would like to always ensure that the PLOs do assist and given an opportunity to advise MECs and HODs when it comes to these important matters. Honourable members, we now go straight to the first question. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and once again, good afternoon to all honorable members and our guests, and HODs present. I'm not going to cooperate, Honorable Deputy Speaker, with your members behind me here that seems to be suggesting that I must take my time and not gallop, because they don't want to answer their questions here today. The answers, Honorable Deputy Speaker, to questions from Honorable Banga, the very simplistic response is given there on the first page, that the service level agreement between the SETA and our government, the Eastern Cape Provincial Government, was signed on the 10th of May 2019. The master service agreement between LTSA and SETA and Eastern Cape Provincial Government was signed on the 2nd of May 2019. Both agreements are for 10-year period. The answer to the second question is that 708 sites have been connected by the 7th November 2022. 708 of 2,700 sites connected translates to 26.2%. The target is to have all sites connected by the end of June 2024. The answer to the third question is that the value of the SLA is 1.3 billion, and the MSA is 4.8 billion, bringing the total to 6.1 billion, tax included. The total spent to date is 231 million, and also 231 million of 6 billion translate to 3.7%. Funds are from equitable share for the department for the project. The answer to fourth question is that the first milestone of 600 sites by June 2022 was met by the supplier. And also the second milestone is 1,200. That must be met by June 2023. The fifth answer is that the project was instituted to solve the problem of connectivity in government institutions in our province. Previously, the province was paying exorbitant amounts of money for 2 Mbps lines. The project is providing 100 Mbps to every site connected. There are more sites connected and very high speed. In all the institutions where the broadband has been connected, services have greatly improved, specifically in hospitals where the usage of the new HMS2 system developed by Department of Health has been enabled, providing access to the internet and learning material in schools. Administratively, access to transversal systems and other e-government systems has been enabled by the broadband project. Yes, there is great value for money in the project. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Banga, any follow-up? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Gaya to Honorable Premier.
Honorable Bango, the candidate, because I found Busa and Busa means. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The first answer to Honorable Banga is that the first presidential gender-based violence and femicide summit was held in 2018, and the province did not have a gender-based violence and femicide summit in 2018. The 2018 presidential summit culminated in declaration containing 19 outcomes, commitments, and resolutions. Most of the resolutions are at a national level. The table below provides progress on the resolutions which have provincial significance. Please, Honorable Banga, you see the table, and this is too much, but it gives the detail, all what you would have been actually answering. I'm not sure whether do you really want me to go. No, Honorable Kayanin. The first resolution, the progress on the first resolution, Honorable Banga, is that the province has adopted a multi-sectoral approach to gender-based violence and femicide. Combined efforts include politically champions against gender-based violence and femicide, moral regeneration movement programs, civil society, and targeted government programs delivered through government departments working in collaboration with the civil society, and other efforts or initiatives include establishment of gender-based violence and femicide safety forums within institutions of higher learning, started with the University of Fort Hare, targeted next are Rhodes University and Walter Sisulu, awareness campaigns at schools focusing on gender-based violence, substance abuse, bullying, human trafficking with other stakeholders, department, and community leaders. CPF and councillors. Commemoration of institutionalized days provides platform to raise awareness on gender-based violence and femicide, women's safety, self-defense, and educating the communities on fighting and preventing gender-based violence and femicide, and reporting of gender-based violence and femicide crimes. As part of the systemic response to the growing scourge of sexual abuse and harassment, the Department of Basic Education has developed the protocols for the management and reporting of sexual abuse and harassment in schools. The protocols provide a guide to prevention as well as standardized response to the scourge of gender-based violence. The Eastern Cape education districts have been capacitated on the protocols. The next step is to roll out the protocols for all schools in the province. On resolution 3, the province established an inter-ministerial gender-based violence and femicide committee, which is convened by the MEC responsible for social development. On resolution 5, in progress, the province contributed through various stakeholders in the review. In the review of the legislation, of the said legislation, the review of legislation has commenced, led by the National Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, e.g. the Domestic Violence Act, Criminal Sexual Offences Act. The province participated in the mediation of the respective amendment bills. On resolution 9, that's sub-question 4, the province has established and resourced 11 Tutuzela centers, albeit there is still room for improvement on the resourcing of the centers. Table 2.1.4 below tabulates the geographic spread of the centers. All the hospitals in the province provide basic care package for gender-based violence survivors, including PEP services. Post-exposure prophylaxis, that is called PEP, services and forensic nurses are provided. I think I depend on those. They're provided in the 11 Tutuzela centers across the district municipalities. The fifth sub-question and on resolution 10, the progress is that the province has established gender machinery and is in the process of reinvigorating the systems through inclusion of multi-sectoral role players. Towards a localized response to gender-based violence and femicide, the province is in process of establishing gender-based violence rapid response team in municipalities. The district metros gender-based violence rapid response teams are established. In Nelson Mandela Metro, Bay, Alfred Nzo, Amatole, Joe Kabe, and Sarah Batman. The 3 local municipalities, gender-based violence and femicide RTTs have been established, and those are Inguza Hill, Matatiel, and Muma. These, of course, used to be our really hotspots. Targeted for the third quarter is the Christianity District Municipality. On resolution 12, sub-question 6, a victim empowerment program is implemented through the Department of Social Development and through the Tutuzela centers. The gender-based violence victims are empowered on various aspects, e.g. psychosocial support, case preparation, economic development opportunities, protection order applications, etc. 19 shelters funded for the provision of sheltering services to women with their children in 6 districts and 2 metros. There is a nationally recognized and accredited Kuseleka one-stop center in the province. The question 7, resolution 13, the progress there is that both SABS and Department of Justice to provide and Constitutional Development provide gender-based violence survivor victim-friendly facilities. The Department of Education has placed social worker interns at second level to provide support to schools that have gender-based violent cases. Social workers provide ongoing psychosocial support.
Sorry, Honorable Premier, just to come to your rescue. These are the resolutions.
Yeah,
I would suggest now that she received this response,
yeah.
you proceed, Honorable Member. I can just get from her whether is there any issue or follow-up before the Premier. She is fine.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Honorable.
you can go straight to the question 3, which is Honorable Magdashela, but Honorable Fihlan will stand for him.
Okay. You see, you see, Honorable Speaker, you must protect me from these ones behind me. They said this is oral, so now I had to stand here and talk until I turned blue. The answer to Honorable Magashela, represented by Honorable Fihlani, is that indeed the quarterly labor survey or force survey by Stats SA reported that the official unemployment rate of the Eastern Cape decreased by 1.2 percentage points, down from 44% in the first quarter of 2022 to reach 42.8 in quarter 2 of 2022. The unemployment rate, according to the expanded definition in the Eastern Cape, decreased by 0.8 percentage point from the previous quarter to reach 51.8% in the second quarter of 2022. This provides opportunity for economic growth and integration on new labor markets entrance. The Eastern Cape second quarter labor market performance has slightly improved on both employment and unemployment fronts due to many people moving from the not economically active category to the employed and unemployed statuses in line with the national trends. Most of the employment was created in the agricultural industry, 17.3 thousand, followed by the manufacturing at 16.2, and community and social services at 12.9, respectively. To sustain this trend, the province will continue to monitor the implementation of the Provincial Economic Recovery Plan. The province will also continue implementing the Provincial Economic Development Strategy prioritized sectors in order to attain its goal of growing inclusive and equitable economy through exploitation of provincial opportunities and competitive advantages for the increased employment and a reduction in inequalities and wealth. The prioritized sectors in the Provincial Economic Development Strategy includes agro-processing, sustainable energy, tourism, manufacturing, automotive, and oceans economy. Despite the emerging challenges faced by the province, such as old economic infrastructure, safety and security for the tourism industry, as well as water and energy, the province has been able to reduce its unemployment. The 3 entities, ECDC, Kucha, and East London IDZ, mandated to drive and enabled of the job creation, have a huge task in order to ensure that the targets that have been set for them this financial year are met. We can report, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that for the second quarter ending 30th September 2022, the three entities combined reported job creation of 13,500 for the operational and active jobs. For construction jobs, they reported 3.3. The main contributors of the job creation was linked to construction projects in the special economic zone. And the operational jobs are linked to the investors operating in the zones as jobs emanating from the film industry driven by the ECDC. The province is also utilizing other funding instruments to ensure that there are minimal job losses through the ECDC. The province is rolling out the Job Stimulus Fund. It can be reported that in the second quarter of 2022, 10 million was dispersed to 33 companies, saving about 204 jobs. As follows: geographical representation, 3 in Nelson Mandela, 2 in Chris and 1 in Amatole, 12 in Oratambo, 12 in BCM, 2 in Alfred Nzo, and 1 in Sarabatman. Those are companies, are not jobs. Sectors, 12, the services sector, 13 tourism, 2 construction, 1 automotive, 3 manufacturing, 1 agriculture, 1 mining, and 1 retail. We can also report, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that there are new applications in the pipeline for quarter 3 disbursements. An additional 8 companies were approved to the value of 2.4 million, intended to save 130 jobs. Disbursements for the year to date are 18.7 million to 61 companies, saving about 368 jobs. Another funding instrument the province is rolling out to save jobs is the Manufacturing Support Center, which is designed to assist companies in distress. We can report that as at 30th September 2022, 7 cases were lodged in the MSC portal, impacting 54 jobs. On these 6 cases were closed, provided, of these 6 cases were closed, provided with financial and non-financial support. 1 case is open, pending supporting information. Okay. Sector representation in the cases logged are 3, and non-automotive 1, agro-processing, and 3 other sectors. One of the catalytic programs the province is driving is the revitalization of the refurbishment of the state-owned industrial parks, noting that these industrial parks operate at different levels and their requirements are also, they also differ. Huge milestones have been achieved by the province, working hand in hand with the other stakeholders and national government departments. We can report here, honorable members, that since 2015, among all the industrial parks, Komani Industrial Park has the most jobs at 2,204, followed by Dimbaza at 1,309, and Vulindlela at 1,058, respectively. We can also report on the socio-economic impact resulting from the infrastructure projects. The infrastructure projects thus far have accomplished the following construction jobs and support SMME. The table below then shows that detail in figures.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Fihlane, thank you very much. From Honorable Makashala once again to Honorable Premier. Question number 4. You can choose, Premier, which ones are critical, because all members, I receive a confirmation note that they did receive their responses in written form.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. And there's only one Deputy Speaker in the House, and it must be respected as such. The province has implemented the lifestyle audit framework, and the process involved the following: the capacitation of departmental ethics officers in association with the DPSA on risk-based verification in order to identify red flags in the disclosures of SMS members which would necessitate investigation was actually conducted. Advocacy programs were then conducted to sensitize officials on the new lifestyle audit guide and framework. All departments, OTP, Dr. Da, DESREC, and all of them, as you see, have implemented the lifestyle audit for SMS, and the results are reflected as below. Lifestyle reviews verification, nil meaning no irregularities identified. Lifestyle investigation, nil means not required. Lifestyle audit, nil, yeah, means not required. Lifestyle audit of the Executive Council were conducted by the State Security Agency based on the vetting, investigation, and relevant available database. The report covered 11 MECs, and the Premier and other MECs had already vacated their positions, and the process with them could not be concluded. The report reflected that no conflict of interest were detected, and their lifestyle tallied with their income. Kwenye province kuyothathwa nje ikhampani kuthiwa ends up sogqitywa kuthiwa siright. Enkosi, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Fihlane. Any follow-up? Thank you very much. From Honorable KP Anil Kumar to Honorable Premier.
Yeah, I must be serious on this one. This is the whip of the committee of, portfolio committee of the Office of the Premier. The answer, Honorable Deputy Speaker, is that in 2021, 2022, and 2022, 2023, the province, through its Provincial Investment Promotion Agency, ECDC has been positioning itself and its business to take up opportunities in the African continent in line with the priorities of the provincial program of action. A better Africa and a better world, with a focus on increased regional integration and trade. In the period mentioned above, the following trade missions and exhibitions were facilitated and attended with Eastern Cape companies to the following countries: Cameroon, outward selling mission, multi-sectoral; Ethiopia, outward selling mission, multi-sectoral; Cote d'Ivoire, outward selling, multi-sectoral; Ghana, Kenya, the intra-trade exhibition, multi-sectoral. Outward trade missions to Nigeria, multi-sectoral, and as well as SADC, organized and hosted the SADC Regional Exporter of the Year award ceremony at the Boardwalk Casino. In addition, ECDC hosted and participated in various trading with African webinars. The annual Eastern Cape Export Symposium also has an African countries slot in the program. Between the two financial years, the ECDC has hosted various inward delegations from countries such as Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, in the Export Symposium. Furthermore, various other African countries have been provided with a platform to engage with businesses and provide valuable information to businesses looking to trade with other African countries.
Thank you very much, Honorable Billy. Thank you very much. This one is from Honorable KC Fihlane to Honorable Premier, question number 6.
It must be avoided that if someone is represented, you cannot also ask a question. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The answer is one of the provincial treasurer's primary areas of concentration is assisting of provincial departments to support local firms by promoting procurement possibilities for provincial-based suppliers by implementing the local economic development procurement framework. One of the objectives of the LEDPF is to stabilize or decrease the vulnerability of vulnerable industries as a result of the economic crisis and industrialization, whilst retaining as much of the provincial budget in the province as possible. The local economic development procurement framework is aimed at ensuring that at least 60% of provincial procurement is spent on goods and services which are manufactured and or are supplied by Eastern Cape-based suppliers. This framework also seeks to stimulate Eastern Cape economic activity, preserve jobs, and to create jobs. Each department developed its own implementation strategy and reports thereof on a monthly basis. The second answer to second question, the current regulatory regime does not permit the ring fencing or set aside. This goes against the constitutional principle of fairness, equity, competition, and transparency. The National Treasury issued SMS practice note number 2 of 2006 in this regard, which is still applicable. Notwithstanding, in terms of the newly promulgated preferential procurement regulations of 2022, the department are required to determine and stipulate specific procurement goals in their SCM policies for the allocation of preferences points during bidding. Section 2 of the PPFA stipulates that the specific goals may include contracting with persons or categories of persons historically disadvantaged by unfair discrimination on the basis of race, gender, or disability, or implementing the programs of the Reconstruction and Development Program as published in Government Gazette number 16085, dated 23 November 1994. To this end, guidance is to be provided to departments in determining their specific goals, including support to local business through procurement. This will also align to the province's vision of 2030 plan. Thank you, Honorable Sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Fihlane, any follow-up?
Honorable Deputy Speaker, just to just to check on the recent implications that the Premier is talking about on the issues of procurement to this, because which is a campaign of the Eastern Cape on the buy local. So is it improving, or is it at a disadvantage or advantage of our own entities?
Honorable Premier?
Anduvanga kakuhle lo mbuzo. Zezibhezi implications uthetha ngazo? Or through your speaker.
I think she is asking whether, now that there is this buy locally, is there improvement that is notable? I think that's the long and short of it.
Well, of course, we're trying. You know, recently we had a bit of an embarrassment with the District Office of Department of Social Development that was doing a procurement to supply food. And it ended up procuring one of the entities from Ekurhuleni that can just distribute food here in the province. It's because of the law and the regime, but I think what has come out of court process that National Treasury was involved with seeks to say we at that level, we can design and develop this. And surely this is what we are currently working on as we are putting this here in this answer, because we definitely needed to improve that. I once visited the Dimbaza the factories, where I saw a company that has got a capacity of employing more than 1,600 people with the machinery lying there idle. But the company cannot get jobs from Department of Health and all other correctional services to assist with all the protective clothing, etc., because of the same. And you can easily getting a person without a company somewhere outside the province winning the tender and coming back here. And with these are things that we're trying to mitigate, and we're working on that, Honorable Deputy Speaker, to make sure that we deal with such kind of problems. But following the law and the Constitution, unfortunately, as we have answered above, that the Constitution still actually encourages the fairness, competitive bidding, etc., etc.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. From Honorable Z.U. Gabe to Honorable Premier, represented by Honorable Benjamin. Ignore him, Premier.
Umuntu akagqithi phambi komuntu eParliament umuntu ethethe. The question from Honorable Gabe, the answer are there any schools and whatever question is, the answer is there are 2,000, if referring to schools. There are 2,533 schools in the province that require a fence because the current fence is in most of these schools is inadequate and does not meet the minimum norms and standards of 1.8 meters security fence. Nanso ke itable icacisa izikolo 62 Alfred Nzo East 238 Alfred Nzo West 364 Amatole East 185 West. The table actually is really clear to follow. The provincial government, in collaboration with the Department of Education, has identified and is currently implementing the comprehensive security fencing program to an additional 120 schools in 2022-2023 financial year. While all schools in the province are linked to the nearest police stations with an official response for the safety security of the schools at each station. This partnership is strengthened through collaborative approach in conducting safety awareness programs jointly in schools. SABS also has a junior commissioners program in which learners are identified as change agents in their schools and linked to the nearest police stations. This program's functionality is constantly being reviewed and improved. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is currently busy with 28 schools. All the schools have been provided with security services. The security services function will be transferred back to the Education Department when contractors have concluded the construction of the various schools. All the 28 schools projects have fencing as part of the scope of work. The following are the schools: Ilingeletu Primary School, Denizulu, Senior Secondary Nsizwa, Senior Secondary Kiba, Junior Secondary Mpumelelo, Mfundisi School, Lavelilanga, Bulelani School, Lair School, Grants, Lower Ngungu, Junior Secondary Masizake, JPS, Pambili, Mzonsundu, Senior Secondary. Nansi list yezikolo esithetha ngazo.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Gauli, umuntu makaziyele through you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very
Under
much.
clinics, quickly,
Oh,
all the clinics in the province do have fencing. However, most of the clinics have dilapidated stock fencing in which no longer providing necessary security. The Department of Health has, in the process, done the following: created a fencing program for the province where the identified clinics are to be provided with high security fencing. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has advertised for the procurement of contractors for the clinics that have been identified in BCM district. A conditional assessment is being conducted to determine the state of the infrastructure, including fencing. This will guide Department of Health in determining the areas of prioritization for the fencing program. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Benjamin? Thank you very much. This is a new question, Honorable Premier, in terms of Rule 183, subsection 3B, from Honorable Makashela. Honorable Fihlane will represent Honorable Makashela. I don't know where you do have an answer there. Okay,
Thank you very much,
it's
Honorable
about investments.
Deputy Speaker. I repeat, now we must not entertain questions of people who are not in the House. The answer is that the provincial government announced 11 new investment commitments from the ShopRite, Cheza, Pictures, Transnet, Bentela, Sun Farming, Mhlobiso, Concrete, Toyota, the material handling, Sanaha, SAP, Sanral, and Agora. The combined investment value of 46.5 billion was committed. The majority of the 11 new investment announced at the conference are spread between Nelson Mandela, Metro, and Buffalo City. The current and new investments are located in the following sectors: manufacturing, primary, agriculture, ICT and digital services, automotive, renewable energy, agro-processing, film, aquaculture, and economic infrastructure. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable Fihlane, you are covered. We go to Honorable Fihlane to Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much. Isangani and bye-bye. The provincial departments are not meeting equity standards, equity targets, Honorable Fihlane, through you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. On average, only 46% of the provincial departments reached the targets of 50% women at SMS. The OTP ensures that targets are met through the monitoring, coordination, and supporting the implementation of gender equality strategy framework and the job access strategy framework. These strategies seek to magnify issues of women and persons with disability. Compliance to the implementation of these strategies is monitored on a quarterly basis. 7 programs that are intended at improving upward mobility for women have been conducted during the start of the financial year. These courses include Advanced Management Development Program, Executive Development Program, Monitoring and Evaluation, Planning in the Public Service, Mentorship and Coaching, Advanced Projects Management, as well as Emerging Management Development Program. The rollout of these programs was biased towards women to ensure empowerment in line with the gender equality strategic framework. Only 6 of the 13 government departments achieved the 2% targets on PWD. Those include OTP, DSD, COGTA, DIT, Provincial Treasury, and DCS. All have made remarkable progress in this area of performance, and this is commendable indeed. Appointments made by the departments are monitored on a quarterly basis to ensure that posts that we ring fence for persons with disabilities have been effected. An integrated employment equity strategy is being developed to guide provincial departments in achieving provincial targets, including 50% women at SMS, 2% persons living with disabilities. That entails incorporation of the 2 special programs, inclinated strategies, namely Gender Equality Strategic Framework and Job Access Strategic Framework. The answer to question 2, no, not all departments are meeting the set 7% targets, Honorable Fihlane. Of the 20.3% government procurement spend benefiting designated group in the Eastern Cape, only 1% or 0.8% was spent on the enterprises owned by the persons with disability. The non-attainment of the budget could be due to various factors, including competition in the bidding process, lack of capacity amongst the enterprises owned by the persons with disability, lack of a definite policy and regulatory framework that enforces the set sides for designated groups. Answer to 3rd question, the Office of the Premier conducts advocacy programs targeting government institutions on various matters such as the rights of persons with disabilities, policy framework on the rights of persons with disabilities. In addition, in the 2022-2023, the Office of the Premier introduced an empowerment program that is targeting persons with disabilities who are owning SMME, including aspirant SMMEs. This program aims at equipping persons with disabilities owning SMME and aspirant SMME on government procurement. accessing capital, tax compliance matters, amongst others, all with an objective of capacitating them to compete fairly for economic development opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier.
Yeah.
Ake sikunike ixesha usela amanzi. We are going to proceed now with MECs, abaphathiswa, nawubukela ke apha eqongeni ningathathi inxaxheba, but let me just remind MECs that in terms of Standing Rule 184 subsection 3, provides that if a question for written reply is not replied or replied yes, within the time frame set out in Rule 184.1, the question for written reply must be transferred to the question paper, and the relevant MEC must provide an oral explanation for his or her failure to reply within the time frame and hand the written reply to the table. If there is such a situation, we shall request Honorable MEC to do likewise in terms of these rules. We proceed to question 8 from Honorable Stevenson to Honorable MEC Safety. That's Community Safety, Honorable Ngata.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings to you, to the Honorable Premier and members of the Executive, and the Honorable members of the House, the HODs, and senior officials and distinguished guests. Good afternoon. The response, Honorable Chair, thanks, Honorable Member, is that SAPS has not received any complaints from around the province in relation to 10-111 calls not being received at the correct center. Can I go to part 2 of the question?
Khawunyusele nje mic lana ngoku. Yes.
Oh, okay. Part 2 of the main question is that Eastern Cape SAPS has not conducted any audit with cell phone service providers, but has published their Telkom 10-111 dedicated number to all. And as and when the dedicated number is installed, programmed, it is tested using all different cell phone numbers of all different cell phone providers. Part 3, from the Honorable Member, there were no formal audits conducted for stations that are not linked to 10-111 centers. The stations are not linked to 10-111 centers have a dedicated line within their number programmed as a 10-111 center. They are currently linked to existing telecom exchanges and are also used by the cell phone companies all over the country. And part 4, the province is in the process of engaging all the cell phone service providers to plan a similar cell phone towers testing mechanism that will enhance 10-111 accessibility by communities. Part 5, should there be a complaint of unavailability or inaccessibility of 10-111 in any of the particular area within the province by any community or distressed person, SAPS endeavors to address such with the relevant cell phone providers. That's all, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Bobby Stevenson, any follow-up?
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. If I can thank the MEC for that reply, but just to mention that when the last audit was done in 2011, it was found that 2,000 towers were incorrectly programmed. Now, I hear what the answer is, but my personal experience is there are problems. So may I ask that your department, in the course of their work, look into this matter, particularly the small towns that aren't linked to major 111 centers, if they could pick it up in the course of their work. Thank you.
Honorable MEC.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thanks, Honorable Member. The request is in order, is accepted. 2011 to do an audit is a long time. And from our side as an oversight body, obviously, of SAPS, we'll raise with them and encourage them to conduct the audit and investigate the issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question number 9 from Honorable Stevenson to Honorable MEC Community Safety.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The province currently has 2,498 vehicles. The province should have 2,226. The province has 356 vehicles on order. Part 2 of the questions. The province does not have any shortages of vehicles. Part 3, there are 303 vehicles in the process of being boarded. That's all, Honorable Chair. The other detail is provided in terms of vehicles undergoing repairs are about 820, and the average time for repairs is as follows. It takes a day. For service, it takes 1 day. For minor repairs, 15 days. For major repairs, 71 days. The vehicles are booked at the garage at different times for different repairs, and the vehicles are completed at different times due to nature of the repairs. So the details are provided there, Honorable Chair. The last part of the question is that the longest period for the vehicle to be kept is 277 days, and the vehicle is being repaired under RT46 contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Stevenson. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you to the MEC for that concise reply. I think when SAP says there's no shortage of vehicles, this doesn't match the experience, as you're aware, of communities on the ground. And I would also again like to request your department takes this matter up when they do their oversight to establish the real state of affairs. Because if you very kindly sent the response beforehand, and you can see if you add up the vehicles that are in repairs and being boarded, it's 25% of all vehicles are out of action. So they might be on the books, but they're not there. And if that can be looked into, for example, Algoa Park, when I visited the 10111 Centre on Monday, they told me there were no vehicles on air for Algoa Park. So there is a crisis with SAP's vehicles. Thank you.
MEC?
The point is well taken, Honorable Chair, and is a matter that has been raised with SAPS already. And even in the last MINMAC, the decision which is being implemented now is to decentralize the control of government garages and all that, so that it does not take longer to repair. Because in some other instances, because I did visit just after my appointment the government garages, well, we find that some vehicles are ready to be fetched by stations, but the reality remains what he says. It's a matter that we'll raise with them to fast track it, because there's a dire need out there, despite what I've just said now.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. Question number 10 from Honorable Lobisha to Honorable MEC Community Safety.
The department is in the process of restricting to make sure that resources are more allocated to the core business of the department. And furthermore, as the business case was submitted to the provincial treasurer for additional funding to capacitate the core business, there was a reconfiguration done internally that resulted in some human resources being shifted from administration to the core business. This is the biggest area that would want to win the support of the legislature to ensure that this new mandate of community safety is supported. Because if our ability to oversight SAPS effectively, the more we're likely to impact in the reduction of crime, the more it will ensure that stability is secured for investors, for communities, and so on. So it's quite a strategic area to be looked at for more funding.
Thank you. Honorable Lobishe, any follow-up?
Honorable,
Thank you very much.
Honorable,
Thank you. The next question, question number 11 from Honorable Lobishe to MEC Committee Safety.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The program of Court Watch Brief is implemented with the available funding for the unit. The program has been rolled out to all districts. There are 11 officials responsible for the implementation, including the 8, district managers. That's it, Honorable Chair. I think this is linked to the whole issue of funding we're raising. If we have got this sort of capacity, our effectiveness, in terms of oversight, get compromised. And if I may add, Comrade Honorable Chair, is that even with this limited capacity, we're able, for instance, to re-enroll about 200 and so cases that were struck off the roll and able to secure successful conviction after those were enrolled back. You can imagine if with more capacity, the kind of role that the department can be able to play. Thank you.
Any follow-up, Honorable Member? Honorable Lobishe?
thank you very much. I'm also satisfied with the response. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Question number 12 from Honorable Sondaba to Honorable MEC Committee Safety, and Honorable Ndamase is representing Honorable Sondaba.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The Provincial Office deployed the task team of Technical Response Team and the Public Order Policing at KSD municipalities. And part of, OR Tambo municipalities. Part of the response, the detail is there, Honorable Chair, in terms of the financial year, in terms of the district, in terms of the police stations in KSD, that were there were arrests in some instances. The information is provided there, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ndamase?
Covered Chair, except to say that I hope we will be finished with the responses in writing. I've not yet received them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndamase. Question number 13 from Honorable Sondaba to Honorable MEC Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Honorable Ndamase will represent the member.
Greetings, Honorable Deputy Speaker, members of the Premier and members of the Executive, honorable members of the House, senior government officials, our distinguished guests, led by Lulo. The question from Honorable Sondaba about any provincial municipalities in terms of procuring their own energy. Currently, Honorable Deputy Speaker, there are no municipalities in the province that have actually made formal applications in respect of their own renewable energy sources. However, Walter Sisulu and KSD were assisted to conduct their own pre-feasibility studies for renewable energy. And those studies have now been completed, and we expected to identify suitable land. And thereafter, once that process has been done, A business plan will be developed with full designs, environmental impact studies, and financials and the funding model. Honorable Deputy Speaker, we have partnered with the DBSA and supported both municipalities to apply for DBSA support, as well as coordinated participation of these municipalities during the development of pre-feasibility studies. And we will continue to support them until these are completed and we're ready to implement those projects. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Ndamase, any follow-up? Thank you, Honorable MEC.
No follow-up, Honorable Chair, except to say that in relation to the economy, we know that there will be strides in relation to the renewable energy beyond the two municipalities. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. The next question is also from Honorable Sondaba to Honorable MEC, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, represented by Honorable Ndamase. Question 13.
Honorable Speaker, I think
It's the one you have dealt with.
I've dealt with the second question too.
You go to question 14 now, from T. Gaya to
Yes.
Cooperative Governance.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. COGTA has established a provincial water and sanitation work stream where COGTA, the Department of Water Affairs, Provincial Treasury, and the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure participate to discuss how the support for water service authorities can be enhanced. The structure looks at matters of planning, procurement, implementation of projects and technical capacity issues with the objective to resolve challenges faced by water service authorities. A draft municipal infrastructure performance management policy framework has been developed for monitoring and supporting municipalities to improve the quality of services and the utilization of grants allocated. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gaya. She is satisfied, Honorable Member.
Okay.
Can we go to the next question from Honorable Mkhaga to Honorable MEC, COGTA?
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. The question to Honorable Mkhaga around the rising occupation of local spazas by foreign nationals. Honorable Speaker, municipalities are encouraged and supported to develop their own relevant policies, permits, and bylaws to regulate the establishment and operations of these spaza shops that are owned by foreign nationals, and also take cognizance of health and hygiene related issues. And licensing, Honorable Speaker, is also under the auspices of such municipalities to approve such licenses. Those municipalities are supported to develop a database of the details of the owners and occupants of spaza shops that are owned by foreign nationals and their adherence to tax compliance and other statutory requirements. The guidelines were developed and outreach programs were undertaken to identify programs and develop applicable policies and bylaws for SMMEs, informal traders, and spaza shops. A training capacity building program has been initiated to be rolled out in partnership with SALGA. Pursued further engagements with the Department of Housing on how to regulate housing ownership and the zoning of such structures, because most of those are zoned as residential but now used as
business sites without any application for rezoning. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. Any follow-up, Honorable Mkhaga?
No, covered, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, right on that note, I think we have come to the end of the question and answer session because the hour has lapsed. We are now going to proceed. Let me just remind honorable members in this following order. Each chairperson, uzawuqala ngokwingxoxo-mpikiswano kubantu ababukeleyo. Each chairperson has been allocated 15 minutes. I will request chairpersons to monitor their time as well, to table their reports, and the members of the Executive Council each is going to respond or reply within 10 minutes to the debate. The time allocated for questions of clarity to the committee and or members of the Executive Council is going to be 15 minutes each. May I request the Secretary to read the first order of the day?
Consideration of reports of Portfolio Committee on Office of the Premier and Special Programs on Annual and Financial Oversight Reports.
Honorable Mkhaga, Chairperson. They will share their 15 minutes with Honorable Khabe. Honorable Mbonyana will represent Honorable Khabe in her 15 minutes. Over to you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, honorable members to this august House. The report is contained from page 620 to 633. That's where we get our annual reports and the financials from page 633 to 640. Reports are taken to be read. We had enough opportunity to go through these reports, and therefore I will not waste your time, Honorable Speaker. We don't have enough time here to cover all the recommendations. And our annual reports, in page 623, we'll go straight to recommendations. The Office of the Premier must improve on their spending patterns and must ensure that they order office equipment on time to avoid delays which might lead to under expenditure, and ensure that receipts are received on time to avoid this under expenditure. C, the Office of the Premier must plan to have an unqualified audit opinion without findings. D, the Office of the Premier must ensure that all monies that were overpaid are recovered. E, the department is commended for the procurement of goods and services from women-owned companies and for exceeding the national targets on the procurement of goods and services from women. The Office of the Premier must ensure that all the employees sign their performance agreements within the stipulated time. The Office of the Premier must ensure that all posts are filled and attract suitably qualified candidates, particularly in the legal services and other professions across departments. The Office of the Premier must fast-track the process of re-engineering. Migration from old organizational structure to the new organizational structure must take place as a matter of urgency. J, the Office of the Premier must expedite the process of finalizing organizational structure that will lead to the commencement of job evaluation. Program 2, dealing with planning, policy coordination, monitoring, and evaluation. Straight to recommendation. Recommendation A, the Office of the Premier must strengthen its internal control measures so as to avoid incurring over expenditure. The Office of the Premier must ensure that the 2 research studies take place and are implemented in the next financial year. The Office of the Premier must ensure that all stakeholders are involved in the implementation of DDM strategy and must ensure that the role of traditional leaders is clearly defined. F, the Office of the Premier must strengthen its oversight over the Department of Education and must ensure that it complies with their basic policies on the rationalization to ensure that learners are provided with scholar transport in collaboration with the Department of Transport. The Office of the Premier and DISRAC must encourage departments to employ more South African Sign Language interpreters across the provincial department so that people with special needs can receive the required service when visiting government departments. You may delete the name, the word deaf people. You may delete that word. Don't think, yeah. The Office of the Premier must consider looking for an alternative measure to the implementation of the broadband for the benefit of the various departments, particularly schools, clinics, and must ensure that connectivity to small towns such as Berkeley East is not compromised. The Office of the Premier must work with the Bishop Masaka Foundation and ensure that the Bishop Masaka survivors and dependents are getting what is due to them. Program 3, recommendation in page 628. The department must ensure that other expenditure is avoided in its programs. The Office of the Premier is commended for training nearly 2,000 unemployed young people in a variety of skills development interventions in the mining sector, public sector, infrastructure, and manufacturing sector. The department is further commended for investing an amount of 50 million to support students from the Eastern Cape to graduate at the Provincial Institution of Higher Learning. Let me repeat this one. It's the flagship of that office. Very critical. The department is further commended by investing an amount of 50 million to support students from Eastern Cape to graduate at the Provincial Institutions of Higher Learning, all universities of this province. The Office of the Premier must conduct an audit to verify the PCMT processes causing delay in the appointment and the filling of vacancies. We had a response on this question. That is not the fault of the PCMT, it's the departments that are delaying to fill vacancies. The Office of the Premier must conclude the reviewal of the policies, employment relations, management strategy, employment equity, and strategy and wellness before the end of the financial year. The OTP must engage the national government on the lifestyle audit so as to ensure that the policy framework is in place and embedded in all departments. The Office of the Premier must deal with all the challenges and delays experienced in the broadbanding projects and further ensure that the implementation is fast-tracked. Under EXEC recommendations, page 631, the entity is commended for maintaining an unqualified audit report for 10 years, consecutive financial years, with no matters and must share best practices with OTP and other provincial departments. 10 years in succession. 10 years in succession, Honorable Zinti. EXEC is also commended for not having cases of irregular expenditure under 2021-22 financial year. The entity must ensure that bonuses are budgeted for and there is uniformity in terms of payouts of bonuses. The Office of the Premier and EXEC must ensure that the Eastern Cape PDP draft reports are completed, consultation take place, and the draft reports are approved in the next financial year. The Office of the Premier, Treasury, and EXEC must ensure that the resources are enough for the data, hybrid warehouse, center, and the infrastructure is completed in the next financial year. General findings. The OTP must work with COGTA to ensure that the National Ministry releases the budget intervention on disasters, particularly on rural roads and bridges, which were damaged during the rainy season. The provincial government must focus on the prevention, prosecution, improve awareness campaigns, and increase psychosocial support services in the province. The provincial government is commended for the small town revitalization program. 17 municipalities have benefited and more than 200 permanent jobs have been created through this program. The provincial government must ensure that 50% target of employment equity for women at SMS level is achieved. Financials. From page 632 to 640, straight to recommendation under page 636. The Office of the Premier must ensure that there are no delays in the implementation of training program, no delays in the payment of exit benefits, and request early submission of invoices.
5 minutes.
The Office of the Premier must ensure that 50% targets for employing women at SMS level is met. Program 2. Recommendation. The department must ensure that the submission of certificates by contractors is taking place on time and ensure that the program does not incur cost pressures going forward to avoid underspending. The Office of the Premier, together with EXEC, must ensure that all the evaluation projects are finalized before the end of the financial year. The Office of the Premier must ensure that all challenges are resolved and risk mitigation measures are in place. The provincial government must come up with solutions on the filling of vacancies that are taking long to be filled by departments. The Office of the Premier must strengthen the monitoring and evaluation processes and ensure the government responds to the needs of the communities. Program 3, 1 recommendation. The Office of the Premier must strengthen its internal control measures to ensure that it does not underspend. Under EXEC recommendations, the entity must ensure that all posts are filled at EXEC to avoid under expenditure. The entity must pay all the outstanding invoices for the services delivered in the midterm before the year end. C, the entity must ensure that the security system is budgeted for before the end of 2022-2023 financial year. General findings. The intergovernmental relation must be aligned to the provincial priorities and strengthened in the province. Thanks, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very
And I must
much.
take this opportunity because we're ending the year now to thank the Office of the Premier, honorable members, our staff, and everybody who contributed to ensuring that this office maintain the integrity that it deserves. It's one office that didn't embarrass this provincial government. And we must therefore thank everyone who has contributed to its own making so that people of this province remain proud of their government in the province of the Eastern Cape. I therefore present this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will now invite Honorable Acting Chairperson of the committee to table special programs and annual financial oversight report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Greetings to you, Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, amalungu onke endlu somthetho, guests in the gallery, but most importantly, mandibulise a special guest, Ilili Kamama, in the gallery. Honorable Deputy Speaker, let me take this opportunity to present the report on special program for the year 2022. Due to the volume of the report, please permit me to take just few findings and recommendations, then shoot straight to general findings. Finding A, Office of the Premier is still lagging behind equity target of employing 50% women in SMS position for the past 3 financial years, as it is sitting at 47% in 2021-2022, and it was 43% in 2020-2021 and 2019-2020 financial years. Recommendation A, the Office of the Premier must continue to develop better strategies to ensure that employment equity target of 50% women in position of SMS will be achieved in the 6th term. Finding B, the committee appreciates the work done by the Office of the Premier towards the capacitation of women of socio-economic empowerment and procurement spend, but the current procurement processes do not favor women in rural areas of the province. Honorable Premier, through you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Recommendation B, the Office of the Premier must embark on a drive to educate rural women on how to benefit from the procurement processes of the state. Finding C, there is a greater concern regarding the DNA testing backlog on gender-based violence cases, which slows down the conviction of rate of perpetrators. Recommendation C, the Office of the Premier must provide a report within 30 days of the adoption of this report on the establishment of the province's own laboratory services, so to speed up the DNA testing processes. Finding D, the evaluative research on the implementation of the provincial SMME development strategy and evaluative research on the implementation of the provincial youth development strategy could not be conducted because the reliable service provider could not be identified to conduct the research. Recommendation D, the Office of the Premier must provide details within 30 days of what has been done to ensure that this strategy will be conducted in the future. Finding E, the provincial gender machinery is not functional as some key role players are not participating in it. Recommendation E, the Office of the Premier must ensure that provincial gender machinery is revived and is functioning properly. Finding F, house built for military vets are not the same in all municipalities, as some of them are of poor and unsatisfactory standards, especially in the Nelson Mandela Bay area. Finding recommendation E, the Office of the Premier must ensure that provincial gender machinery is revived and is functioning properly. Can I shoot straight to general findings so that I'm able to also table the half-year report, Honorable Deputy Speaker? General finding A, the committee could not consider the annual reports, Honorable Premier, of the Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Rural Development, because they did not submit their presentation simultaneously and MECs were not available for the meetings. General recommendation A, the Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Rural Development must ensure future submissions of requested reports in preparation for special programs committee meetings are done in time and that MECs are part of the meetings. General finding B, most provincial departments are struggling to reach the equity target of 2% persons with disabilities. General recommendation B, the Office of the Premier should enforce stringent measures and ensure that employment equity targets are achieved in the 6th term, honorable members. The last finding in general findings, designated parking for persons with disabilities are occupied by people without disabilities in the provincial departments. Recommendation, the Office of the Premier must ensure that designated parking areas for the persons with disabilities are utilized by their rightful owners in the provincial departments. Let me go straight to half-year report, honorable members. Finding A, there are 2 vacancies under the transformation program due to the migration processes that are waiting the finalization of the organogram, and this has affected expenditure of the compensation of employees' budget. Recommendation A, the Office of the Premier must ensure that the 2 vacancies are filled upon the finalization of the migration processes and that of the organogram. Finding B, the Office of the Premier has targeted 100 military vets for the skills development program that was informed by the department's own initiatives to assist these vulnerable groups. The department started with 10 on agricultural program and the number has been increased to 200, taking into consideration their limited resources. Recommendation, the Office of the Premier must consider on making a proposal for the legislation on military vets to be amended that will change the manner in which the military veterans' benefits are distributed. The Office of the Premier does not have its own skills audit of military veterans due to the fact that National Department is still busy with the cleansing of the database together with the skills audit. The committee is concerned, Honorable Premier, about the pace of the cleansing of the database as it does not seem to take into consideration the lifespan of this vulnerable group. Recommendation C. The Office of the Premier must strengthen their relations with the National Department of Military Veterans in order to use their database and skills audit for the improvement of the lives of this vulnerable group. Finding D, the committee is not convinced that the Office of the Premier will meet the procurement target for designated groups because they are at 30% for youth and 40% for women respectively. Find recommendation D. The Office of the Premier must provide in writing within 30 days a report on how they will ensure that procurement targets are meant to be benefit vulnerable groups are achieved. Furthermore, the report must also indicate how they are planning to monitor and assist department in meeting their own procurement targets. Can I quickly move to Department of Social Development, Honorable Deputy Speaker? It's a very long report. On social development, finding A, the committee commends the work of the department for reaching the 50% equity target of women in SMS position. However, the equity target of people with disabilities is still lower than 2% as they are at 1.9%. Recommendation A, the department must ensure that they sustain the equity status of women in SMS positions and must develop better strategies for achieving the 2% target of people living with disabilities. Finding B, the presentation of the department highlights the work of the department whose mandate is to service vulnerable groups but does not indicate work That is also done by the special programs as a unit in the department. Recommendation B, the department must also in future report on the work that is done on special program unit of the department. Finding C, there is a greater scarcity of shelters for the elderly, people with mental challenges, the homeless, and this has prompted a debate within government on whose responsibility should it be, and there seemed to be a suggestion that COGTA and municipalities must take the responsibility, but with the assistance of the relevant departments. The recommendation in this regard, the Office of the Premier, together with Department of Social Development, must speed up this debate as there is a greater need of shelters in the province for vulnerable individuals. Finding D, there is no standard ratio of social workers in communities versus designated groups. The work of social workers is more general and not categorized as per those vulnerable groups. Recommendation D, the Department of Social Development must speed up the annual recruitment plan and it must prioritize the employment of social workers. Finding E, the committee is of the view that the department treats the issue of sanitary towels as a project instead of a service at all times as compared to the wider distribution of condoms. There is a pilot project by the National Department of Women in Alfredo that targets quintile 1 to 3 schools girls. The project seeks to broaden the health and hygiene of the girl child. Recommendation E, the Department of Social Development, working together with the National Department of Women, must ensure the success of this project, then allow for the development of a policy to address the issue. Finding F, the department is finalizing adjudication and awarding of service providers for the 6 district municipalities and the 2 metros that will be ready by January for the distribution of sanitary towels. Recommendation F, the department must provide the committee with progress report on this program before the end of the financial year. Finding G, there is greater concern by the committee when it comes to elderly vulnerable women receiving their pension payouts on long queues without shelter and assistance by the Department of Social Development and SASSA. SASSA moved the payments to town because the beneficiaries prefer to make their withdrawals in town so they can buy groceries. So it was not cost effective to continue the services in individual spaces. Recommendation G, the Department of Social Development must engage SASSA to ensure that queue marshals are provided to assist the elderly, people with disabilities and pregnant women in receiving, that are receiving their grants in and pregnant women in receiving their grants with dignity. A sustainable strategy by SASSA must be established in the long run to assist the elderly people in this regard. The last finding, honorable members,
minutes.
finding H, there seems to be little work by the department when it comes to people who have mental challenges, who are also on the streets. Also taking into account the young men and women who are addicted to drugs, who end up with mental health issues. Recommendation H, the department must provide the committee with a report on the provincial drug master plan and its progress that is being implemented in involving SASSA, Gambling Board, Department of Social Development, and the Department of Health on a quarterly basis. Honorable members, Deputy Speaker, the committee wishes to extend gratitude to the committee members and all department officials for their attendance during the meeting to consider the half-year financial report oversight. I so tabled the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mbonyana. Honorable members, are there questions directed to OTP committee led by Honorable Mkhacha? None. Any questions directed to special programs? None. Any clarities by the Premier? None. Let's go straight to the debate now. Sizawungena kwingxoxo mpikisano ke yemibutho yepolitiki elapha eParlamente ngoku. Mandibize iDemocratic Alliance, Honorable Banga. 9 minutes.
Chair, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we note with concern that the Office of the Premier underspent its budget by 5.7 million rand. It is also that the department underspent in relation to the Isikalo Youth Project. As the OTP should be the custodian of youth advancement in the province. It is further concerning to note that the Office of the Premier incurred an irregular expenditure amounting to 78 million rand. The department must ensure consequence management in this regard by holding officials accountable and recouping the funds where it's possible. Year by year, we hear about the broadband projects which remains incomplete. Madam Speaker, OTP has for long been blamed the broadband delays on litigation faced in the initial stages of implementation without showing any concrete plans to expedite this project. The Office of the Premier must ensure the broadband project is completed, especially for hospitals, clinics to benefit, ensuring that there is a digital recording for health facilities will not only increase efficiency, but will also assist in mitigation against the medical legal claims as patient files will be safe. Unfortunately, the project has encountered numerous delays while the cost of the project has escalated. 2,700 broadband sites were supposed to be connected over the next 3 years, with 600 rolled out in the year under review. However, at the end of the fourth quarter, only 450 sites were targeted. Out of those, only 258 were delivered. That is a success rate of just 43%. Now the department finds itself in a panicking mood. It is concerning that the Department of Health and Education are still faced with severe financial challenges, which might lead to the implementation of Section 100. Because you must implement Section 100. The exorbitant cost of medical claims in the department continues to jeopardize the financial stability of this province, not only of this province, we hear this morning in the Rules Committee, but also of this legislature. The financial management of these departments continue to put the entire provincial government at financial risk. It is the responsibility of the Premier to ensure that these departments do not sink our province. During recent school oversight visits across the province, the DA found out that schools were without books, with many still waiting for their textbooks and learner material. You know, Premier, my child, your children and mine, they go to private schools. The first day at school, they get everything that they deserve, it's ticked. But it's painful that the children in the Karoo only received their learning material and their textbook in May. It's shame to all of us who sit here that the children of the poor, Impulas Galchaco Mambes, who had no money to take them to Grey High School and all other schools, should continue and suffer in the same way that me and you suffered when we could not have textbooks. But I can tell you the apartheid government was better. The first week of schools will receive new textbook. The only thing new I would know every year was a smelling newspaper textbook that would be given by the apartheid government. But our own government, for our own government, they could provide for 10 kids. You can't provide even for 100. For 2, until May, they could provide in the first quarter. You cannot provide that. On small towns, maybe let me take you through, I'm going to leave the speech now. Let me leave the speech. Let's go on small towns. Premier, in Queenstown, I visited Ilinge. Historically, if I'm correct, that area in Ilinge, then KD Matanzima, took the people of that area, because their parents were in exile, some in Robben Island, dumped them there because it did not want them in the former Transkei. What the ANC government currently is doing, in Ilinge there is a dam of sewage. What those people received is that your government in Enoch Mkijima dumped sewage, raw sewage, which is dangerous to human life in that area. Is that better life? How do you subject the people who fought for freedom and their children in the same conditions that Matanzima subjected them? Premier, in Umtata, you talk about 200 jobs in town revitalization. 542 people, young people in the Eastern Cape are unemployed, but all of you are clapping for 200 people. The level of unemployment young people have given up looking for work in the Eastern Cape are 86.9%. 45% of the people of the Eastern Cape, you are celebrating 1%. It's a shame on you. Many of our people live without food in front of their children. Here we celebrate success of 1%. Because we have mismanaged the economy, and the economy is not creating opportunities of growth and employment for our people. Your small town revitalization program has completely failed. I'm from Takastad. The only hope of people in Takastad is they wake up every day. It's ginger. Do you know what ginger? It's what they drink in the morning, and it makes them sleep for them to run away from the misery of their problems. Our people are subjected to color abuse and poverty. Mechasdal here in Kredok, in the Fish River, there's sewage spills in the Fish River that flows from Kredok across Port Elizabeth. Our people continue to drink contaminated water with no consequences from the local municipality and the Christian municipality. The Department of Health, Water, have to take the municipality in court order, but to continue to make those people. You know, in Kredok, I like Kredok. There's sewage for black people like me, for colored people who look like him, and also for white people. It goes to the Fish River. No management. That's how we have destroyed town. Umtata 28 years back was a beacon of hope for the people of Transkei. Everybody else who goes to town in Transkei would make sure you wash and wear very clearly clothes. What have you done? You have broken in pieces Umtata and created a social problem of gangsters and crime that have captured that city and threatened our people through gangsterism. That's what you have done in 28 years. Can we go to Grahamstown? Grahamstown harbors and sits. Grahamstown, you can call it Macan. The only thing you like is names. Let's deal with reality here. That Grahamstown is the pothole capital of the Eastern Cape, of South Africa, by the way. It sits the University of Rhodes, the best university in the world, St. Andrews, and the best schools. Look at what have you done to this area. Grahamstown is the capital of storage. Where is that storage? In the location in Georgia. The Eastern Cape is a mine of storage. If we can be asked how rich you are, we'll say we are rich as our storage in the Western Cape. Because each and every small town in the Eastern Cape has a flow of sewage, not managed. In Dordrecht, I went to the town, the location. The sewage that floods in all these houses, do you know what they've done? They just put a pipe there for 10 years.
Honorable Banga?
That contaminates the river.
Honorable
This
Banga?
is how you have mismanaged.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much, Premier.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Can I invite United Democratic Movement, UDM, Honorable Zindi? Honorable Member, you have 8 minutes.
Enkosi sihlalo. Yo, enkosi sekela somlomo.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah. Mandithathe lithuba ndibulise kuNkulumbuso yalephondo leMpuma Koloni. Ndibulise kumalungu onke endlu yowiso-mthetho yaseMpuma Koloni namalungu onke aphaya kwigalari ngegama likaYesu. Amen. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Office of the Premier, uzawundixolela ke uPremier, the Office of the Premier lacks a proper plan to mitigate the myriad of challenges facing the Eastern Cape. Official unemployment rate in the Eastern Cape is at 42.8% in 2022 Q2. An estimated 72% of the population in the Eastern Cape province live below poverty line, which is more than the national average of 60%. We need the office that is in touch with the reality. People are in need of sustainable jobs, and stats indicate most 42% households in the Eastern Cape receive social grants as their main source of income, compared to 37.3% that receive salaries. The basic necessities include food, water, education, and shelter. The biggest challenge in accessing these necessities is that they all have a financial tag, and this usually results in the exclusion of those without money from accessing them. In other words, one of the biggest causes of poverty can be said to be unemployment. Job creation should remain the one of the office's priorities. Honorable Deputy Speaker, there is a saying, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. The Office of the Premier needs to align its plans with that of national and local government, so to move to same direction. Intergovernmental relations must be aligned to the provincial priorities and strengthened in the province. Investing in the province is essential to unlocking its economic potential. And this is exactly what the national government, provincial government, and the private sector have committed to. The Eastern Cape is vast and beautiful. Niyayazi Eastern Cape ba inkulu futhi inhle inendawo ezitsala umdla kubantu. But the scenic province serves as the backdrop of untold economic hardship that drives its residents out to seek fortunes in other more prosperous provinces. Infrastructure is sparse. Poor road links keep rural communities distant from the mainstream economy. The province requires approximately 12,000 kilometers of access roads. The infrastructure in rural communities is poor, as infrastructure development strategies historically favored urban areas over rural areas. The Eastern Cape has great potential agricultural land. The farmers are faced with a number of infrastructure challenges, and this includes access to water and roads. Beske sasemhlonhlo, kukhona phaya abalimi abakhona emhlonhlo, but indlela zakhona azihambeki. Kulo rhulumente ke ona minyaka ukhona uselawulweni. Quality roads enable easy transportation of the agricultural produce from the farm to local and international markets. Asazi xa indlela zingahambeki kuthiwa mabaflye kanjani bengenazo ne-flights. It is the duty of the Office of the Premier to educate traditional leaders regarding the district development model. Its objective, make them understand in order to create good governance. In conclusion, Honorable Deputy Speaker, as the UDM, we applaud EXEC for maintaining an unqualified audit outcomes for 10 consecutive years. Asiyazi ke into yobana lo EXEC angazifundisa kanjani ezinye departments ezinjengo-education, health, transport, ukuze nabo ekugqibeleni beze ne-audit outcomes as unqualified. Kubhlungu ke ukuthetha ngo-education because iyasichaphazela sonke. Mhlambi kuba thina ngabanye sinabantwana abafunda kwizikolo ezithatha entweni njengokuba besetshilo Honorable Banga. Ibhlungu into yokubukela abantwana besizwe somntu omnyama besokola ngolhlobo kwilizwe elikhululekileyo. Kubhlungu ukujonga umcimbi womakhulu bethu nomama bethu besokola kumcimbi wokurhola inkamnkam yabo ezidolophini njengokuba ingathi into apha ekhuselekileyo ukuya ezidolophini. Ngoku kweli xesha langoku akusakhuselekanga ngenxa yecrime ephezulu kwiidolophu esikuzo. Honorable Speaker, ebunyanisweni okokubana i-UDM ingaphatha njengokuba in few years to come sizawuphatha sizawutshintsha yonke lento. Ndiyakuthembisa sihlalo or in waiting. Ndiyakuthembisa into yobana sizawutshintsha yonke lento. Akwaba ungahamba. I-UDM iyayisapota le report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zinti. Democratic Alliance, Honorable Zibonda, 9 minutes.
No. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, the members of the Executive, members of the Provincial Legislature, members of the gallery, and staff, be greeted. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the special program's obligation for the departments is to make visible steps that seek to smoothen the playing ground so that each person can enjoy equality more significantly. Focus on vulnerable groups is vital and key to transforming our province and creating an open opportunity society for all. Government has a responsibility to safeguard vulnerable citizens, our children, seniors, women, and people living with disabilities. That is a moral obligation, but there is also an economic justification. We all pay when the basic needs of our citizens are not met. Special programs can be seen as one of the foundations of the fight for equality. It is unfortunate, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that most of our departments do not see it as such. It is a finding of the committee that the provincial gender machinery is not functional due to the lack of participation of key role players. This is sad, Madam Speaker, given the rate at which gender-based violence is escalating in our province. I've seen this in municipalities where women caucuses are not even functional and are not provided with the support they need to function. The coordination of the fight against GBV is very crucial as women and children are dying every day in the hands of those they trusted and loved. The DA urges the Premier to revitalize the structure for the betterment of the lives of our communities. We recognize that tackling gender-based violence in our country requires a multifaceted and all-inclusive approach, including victim support, empowerment, and violence prevention initiatives. Perhaps even more importantly, education and public awareness. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the challenges faced by the people living with disabilities seem far from over. The Office of the Premier cannot track people living with disabilities. I struggle to understand this. Is this not a starting point to track them and trace and find out where they are and how their living conditions are? Are we saying we are not looking for the ones who are getting grant because the grant is enough to empower them? While departments still struggle to meet the target of 2% employment of persons living with disabilities, they also struggle to create a conducive environment for them in the workplace. If provincial departments cannot control the simple issue of the use of designated parking for this vulnerable group, what can we really expect them to do to take their plight seriously? Speaker, our government either does not know how to deal with mental illness or they simply don't care. It can only be one of the two. From the Department of Health to the Department of Social Development, no one is doing it right. Honorable Premier, what must happen for your government to take this issue seriously? The scarcity of shelters for the elderly, people with mental challenges, the homeless, and the abused women and children in this province is a great cause for concern. The budget for this is close to non-existent. Honorable Premier and MEC for Social Development, I invite you to visit Sarchi Batman Center for Women and Children in Cape Town, in Athlone, ably led by Advocate Bernardine Bacha as its director. Through the collaboration between government and social partners, they provide the following service to women and their children who experience domestic and sexual violence: a 24-hour emergency shelter, safe accommodation, short and medium-term residential care, child care services, counseling, mental health support, legal and economic empowerment services, children's counseling, research in gender-based violence, job skills training, and legal advice. That center is a good example of what can be achieved when government and private partners can achieve when working together. They hope they can restore to the people and give them a launch pad to life after terrible experiences, while at the same time ensuring a future for our kids. The Eastern Cape needs this type of service more than ever. Honorable Deputy Speaker, despite all the challenge I have mentioned above, the Office of the Premier underspent its budget on transformation programs by over 5 million rands, a clear indication of unwillingness to change the trajectory of our vulnerable groups as a province. Honorable Deputy Speaker, every year when we debate special programs, we lament about the departments and MECs who do not take this work seriously. Benibabukele ngoba bekufundwa le finding bayabheka bayajongana ba hayibo benihleli phansi bajo inqondo ingathi abayazi nento okuthethwa ngayo bana bona ababikho bangafaki ne apologies. We have raised it with Honorable Premier not ngokasiqala, but lo mkhuba usaqhubekeka kwaye akubonakali kukho into eyenzekayo kunqanda. Siyacela ke Honorable Premier, okay, ubangxolise okanye wenza something. The DA supports the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sbonda. We go straight now to the African National Congress, ANC, Honorable Dwabu, 14 minutes.
Enkosi Somlong, mandithathe lithuba ndibulise inkulu baphathiswa iphondo nesigqeba sonke sayo. And do the same with all honorable members in the house. Ndiqale ngawe kodwa ke Somlomo ukubulisa. You know, Somlomo obekekileyo, at times when people speak, they forget crucial things when they are speaking. Honorable Banga, as he was speaking here, I remembered in my mind that we were together in a trip to Ndlambe to watch the same project at Namhlanje is a complete disaster. We were witnessing paving in that municipality, which actually brought huge employment. We were also witnessing that water treatment plant there. And we were all saying, what a good work. Today, there's no longer any good work in the whole program. But lastly, I remember Honorable Somlomo Uba, when he says, for the entire 28 years, the ANC in power, it has done nothing. Le mino yakhe eminye ikhombe kuye. I still remember when he left the ANC. It's not very long ago. Not very long ago, when the ANC recalled Umamu Palindlela, and he went with him from one place to another. So I don't know, I'm not going to say what those places were. So you know, the ANC is very pleased that it trains people to speak. But some of the things that people speak are unfortunately not what we train them how to speak. But we accept that in any factory, there are always those things that are not really properly done. Yeah, I didn't want to be direct. Honorable Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the ANC, I take this time to make this presentation. I really feel humbled that I was part of a delegation led by yourself on Monday to be part of a commemoration of the passing away of our own legend, Utatu Mandela Paemtata. And we really experienced a good occasion. But not only the occasion, we had a chance of getting inside that structure, the museum, which I really want to appeal to honorable members to take time and visit that structure. There's a very good information inside. Especially there are those who, when they stand in their platforms talking about other organizations, they will always want to start about Mandela what, Mandela what, Mandela what. So for you to say it knowing what Mandela really said, it's important that you go to that site. You will be taken through by those men and women there who are actually mentoring people inside that museum. It's very important. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in remembering the devastation period of the COVID-19, which we have gone through, the African National Congress cannot forget to applaud all role players who helped the province and the country to successfully save lives of South Africans. We acknowledge and appreciate the strides of the provincial administration in trying to turn around the tide, dealing with economic recoveries for our province and the country. We applaud all the stakeholders who assured that the province was not part of the distractions in July 2021. Particularly, it takes the industry. The role that they played in our own province was really very important. Honorable Speaker, the positive audit outcomes in terms of clean audits by a number of provincial departments is another indication that the wheels of the provincial administration are turning towards the right direction. It leaves the DG and his team of the OTP with a huge challenge that you cannot lead in a space where you do not occupy. So sibacela babe ngaphakathi kwi-clean audit so that we really applaud them. Bakwazi ukuyikhokhela kakuhle. The ANC expects we want to assure that the clean audits do translate into accelerated service delivery to our people. Singabina clean audits, kodwa xa sowuzikhomparisha nento on the ground, kubekho some discontent around that. We are happy that the public entities that are used by the provincial government to do its work are also part of clean audits. Even those that are struggling, we hope that they will find a way and become part of good governance. We note with appreciation the ground covered by EXCO in the area of vetting and lifestyle audits. The creation of a culture of accountability in the public service through a firm implementation of consequence management remains an area to be worked on, Honorable Premier and DG. As we listen, most of the departments still complain In fact, most committees still complain about consequence management as a weak link in the administration of the province. There are provincial departments that require particular focus from the OTP as they are struggling, though they are given a lion's share in terms of a provincial budget. I do not have to mention them by name, Honorable Premier, ziyaziwa nazo ziyazazi. The local government space also requires maximum focus for our stability, for their stability, financial management, and proper administration. It is the delivery arm of government that is closest to the people. So the ANC appreciates the small town revitalization program, and its implementation and its intention to change focus, a face of these municipalities. You know, Honorable Premier, it doesn't mean that when you have seen, we have picked one wrong thing in a program, the entire program becomes useless. We have gone through a number of municipalities. They, in fact, are still begging for more because they see the importance of this program. So that's why the ANC really feels that you should do more in shaping, in assisting these municipalities to change their faces. They need to stop sewer spillages. They need to stop erroneous billing systems and uninspiring audit outcomes in some of the municipalities. So those are the things that we really want to see the administration of the province focusing on in assisting these municipalities to turn around the tide and become what we want to see them in terms of really helping our communities. They also need to stop there's something that is becoming more frequent, the replacement of permanent jobs by the EPWP in some municipalities. You find that something that is really needed, but municipalities do not budget for a permanent position. Instead, they are, put people through the EPWP programs. Strengthening of LED sessions, ensuring that their local procurement of goods and services is not only in their policies, but implemented, ensuring that grants for infrastructure are maximally and efficiently utilized can help improve servicing our people. Our municipalities, in our municipalities, we are starting a circumcision season, which all of us should really be hands-on in making sure that abantwana bethu baya bephila, babuye bephilile. Honorable Speaker, the ANC appreciates the mega infrastructure projects that have started in the province and those that are still coming. Our N2 Wild Coast, the Mzimvubu Dam, we are sure that they will actually contribute towards creation of jobs in the province. We also are anxious to see the mining possibilities becoming a reality in areas where they are identified. We encourage the government and stakeholders to engage on these matters so that we realize these potentials as the people of the province. We are worried about communities who always stand in the way, opposing some of these developments. The twinning agreements, trade with the African continent and economic envoys are bedfellows that must not be allowed to fall by the wayside as we pursue the economic prosperity for the province. The ANC is happy that these agreements are bearing visible and tangible fruits. Honorable Premier, through you, Honorable Speaker, the challenges of crime in the province really require serious attention. We, in fact, as committees were reporting a number of unwanted and difficult situations, whether it's GBV or people who are being hijacked, it's really becoming more common in the province. Honorable Premier, through you, Honorable Speaker, our province is known for poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Nelson Mandela said, overcoming poverty is not a task of charity. It is an act of justice. He further said, a winner is a dreamer who never gives up. So if we want to see this province becoming a winner, we all should really make sure that our hands are on deck and we work for our communities and change all the ills so that our communities really benefit for our being in these structures. Whether some of us in the House always see good in the Western Cape only, tell them that though apartheid could not benefit us like their Western Cape, but this province shall triumph and be a winning province. The ANC supports the report. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Dwabu. I will now call upon the African National Congress, Honorable Keleku, 14 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, allow me to greet the Honorable Premier, his Executive Council members, members of the Provincial Legislature, the Director General, heads of the departments present here today, and our special guests in the gallery. Greetings to you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this debate on the reports of the Special Programs Unit takes place at the backdrop of some horrific deaths that have visited the country and the province. I am sure much will be said by other members of the legislature. Mine is to register our disdain at the level of violence that has been unleashed against innocent individuals, particularly children, women, and the elderly by bloodthirsty thugs roaming our streets. We are calling for vigilance in our communities, particularly the remote rural areas of the province and the country. Honorable Speaker, the reports presented by the chairperson are quite straightforward and clearly tabulated the areas of discomfort that members of the Portfolio Committee have identified. Even though there may have been a general sense of satisfaction based on the information provided by the department who appeared before the committee. As the African National Congress, we must express our general unhappiness at the pace at which departments are meeting their equity targets. We note the commendable advances made by other departments in this regard. However, we will never be happy at all until equity targets are met and surpassed by all departments. We are saying this because we know we have the express support of the Premier, the ANC, and the society at large on this one. Members of the Executive Council will not cry foul when I dedicate time lambasting them the next time around. In fact, Honorable Speaker, I am contemplating consulting traditional doctors on this one because departments are going to and fro ingathi ziyagula. Hayi andiyazi somlomo le nto ye-equity sengathi izawusigulisa nathi. Ndiyacela ke bantu bakuthi sincedisane kule ndaba yolingwano. I am pleading with the departments to fulfill their undertakings on meeting equity targets because it is our wish that we become a shining light when it comes to women representation and the employment of people living with disabilities throughout the country. The empowerment programs for women must begin to bear fruits in real terms. People at the helm of our province administration must put aside their personal egos and interests and meet this policy and constitutional imperatives of the government. The private sector must not think that it is exempt from the equity laws and regulations on this country. A study in 2020 by PricewaterhouseCoopers in executive directorship in South Africa found that 86% of CEOs are white, while only 6% are women. According to the Commissions of Employment Equity data of the same year, only 15% of managers are African, while almost 2/3 of top managers are white indicated. These are worrisome statistics that only help to entrench the patriarchal and racial stereotypes in our society. These are demons of the past that we must fight and rid ourselves of in an expeditious ways. There's no free, open, democratic, and prosperous society that can live sustainable under these skewed conditions. The caption of industry and the principle of our political parties and heads of departments must be forthright in addressing this injustice of our unfortunate past. Honorable Speaker, we commend the visible progress that has been made in mainstreaming women in the procurement system of the province. We also note that much ground still needs to be covered. Once again, we call on departments to be much more purposeful in affirming women in this forthcoming financial year. We want to warn department against malicious compliance through the awarding of work to unstable candidates, all in the name of women empowerment. The public procurement spend is not meant to be in vain for fiscal dumping, but a vessel to convey service delivery at a much faster, effective, and efficient basis where such capacity doesn't exist within departments. As much as we are cautioning departments on this, we would like to plead with the departments to pay attention to new entrants as familiarity breeds contempt and disregard by the so-called old pro in the field. I don't know what is professional about people who discount their contractual agreements and swindle departments in broad daylight and in the process put people's lives in danger. The department must also be wary of fronting tendencies by some established male companies. We don't want to witness a situation where we are told that 10 female companies have been awarded contracts only to later learn that there's some papa action behind the scenes who is reaping all the rewards. We are cautioning all this because we know that there's economic scavengers who would stop at nothing in satisfying their limitless hunger for private accumulation. The youth empowerment programs have been long in coming. We are starting to see a more visible movement on the ground, which we appreciate. I propose not to discuss them one by one for now, except to say that the youth of our country must take advantage of these programs and utilize them to their fullness. I remember that in one business seminar that I attended where we were required to indicate the primary reason for starting a business, where an overwhelming response was profit-making, with me being the only dissenting voice in the House. With your permission, Honorable Speaker, I would like to remind the youth of the province and aspirant business persons listening to this primary reason for starting a business should be about addressing a particular social need and in the process reap your rewards or so-called profit. Many a times, people establish a salon, petrol station, or a restaurant in a market saturated by these. It stands to reason that such ventures stand a little or no chance of succeeding. A parting shot on this one is that departments must enter into agreement with the beneficiaries that donations made in terms of movable or immovable assets won't be exchanged for cash or in kind until the expiry date of such assets. Doyika ke somlomo kuba ayavuza amathunga asisengela kuwo phandle apha. Ungafika ii-computers ezithengwa ngurhulumente ngamawaka zisimka ngekasi neebhotile zeenyembezi zika-Victoria. Sithi ke kulutsha lakokwethu, Honorable Speaker, wasebenziseni la mathuba kuba indlala nentswela-ngqesho ixakile elizweni. If there's no one that will be left behind, it must surely be people living with disabilities. The empowerment sessions held for people living with disabilities and the support provided are noted and commended. It can only be in South Africa under the leadership of the ANC that the plight of the people living with disabilities occupies a center stage in government programs. We also note that they are given opportunities in the procurement system of government departments, and these must be gradually raised so that they may play a meaningful role over time. We may have long realized through the Constitution that people living with disabilities can be interested but largely ignored participants by government and the society in the development of South Africa. They must be encouraged to be central in the development of their own communities and themselves. It can only be through self-reliance that an individual potential that contribution can be realized. We must therefore continue with the programs that are aimed at benefiting people with disabilities. I hear that the pool has shrunk and there are no more fish in the pond, and I say build your own pool, get some fish eggs, feed them, and very soon you will become fish producers for the country. Departments must not just issue out employment adverts and expect to attract suitable candidates from people living with disabilities without them being deliberate about it. A caring society can only be built at the back of the respect of the rights of older persons. Programs directed at eradicating the stigma associated with mental health illness in old age must continue to be supported, especially in areas where older persons are killed or suspicions of witchcraft. Older persons centers provide a good outlet for older persons from the daily grind of modern society that results into increased levels of stress and anxiety. These centers must continue to grow while lives and bound right into the future. The military veterans, particularly liberations, war veterans, have made an immense contribution in the liberation of South Africa from apartheid, bondages, and the current democratic systems that is well recognized and admired. All the programs directed at military veterans are noted and supported. We are saying that the pace at which these programs are delivered need to be jacked up so that the military veterans can enjoy fruits of their sacrifice whilst they are still alive. Out of the timeless adage that children are our future, we must therefore jealously guard and protect them from social scums who will stop at nothing in raping them and mutilating their young and innocent bodies. The justice system must make sure that these social outcasts are given harsher sentences that would hopefully serve as determined to other would-be child killers. The expeditious competition of the DNA laboratory in the province will help a great deal in identifying the culprits in this area, even those that thought they have not got away with murder and rape in the past. It is quite disturbing, Honorable Speaker, to learn that child labor is still practiced in some quarters of the province and the country, despite the presence of government legislation that prevents this. Studies show that child labor doesn't only deprive children of their rights to go to school, but also reinforce intergenerational cycles of poverty. They go further to show that child labor also includes poor growth, malnutrition, higher incidence of infectious and system-specific diseases, behavior and emotional disorders, and decreased coping efficiency. Some of us, if I may add, Honorable Speaker, were raised to do manual and low-paying jobs in the farms of the province, but due to sheer coincidence and luck, we got an opportunity to go to school, and those colleagues who stayed behind are still trapped in that poverty cycle even today. Sithi ke mayiphele le nto yokusetyenziswa kwabantwana kumakhaya ethu nakwiifama ezisingqongileyo. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I would like to encourage more departments to appear before the Portfolio Committee of the Special Programs Unit. Yes, we are robust, but so far nobody has died because they appeared before us. I must also thank the Office of the Premier for being consistent in its appearance before the Portfolio Committee. This displays the seriousness that the office attaches to the plight of the designated and vulnerable groups of the Eastern Cape. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress supports the report as it is, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Keleku. I will now invite Honorable Premier to come and conclude the debate. In 10 minutes, summary, Honorable Premier.
Oh, in 10 minutes, thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker, and good afternoon to all honorable members and the members of the Executive Council. Special greetings to the portfolio committees that are handling the Office of the Premier and distinguished guests. Good afternoon to you all. As it is a norm, Honorable Deputy Speaker, I stand here to receive the reports of the Portfolio Committee on the Office of the Premier Annual Report and Standing Committee on the Special Programs Unity that have been presented here by the respective chairpersons. As stipulated in the rules, the Office of the Premier will submit written responses within 30 days to the recommendations of the two committees. Uyawusinda nje Honorable Banga kuba nje ndiyi-candidate kuba befana ndiyakucambalalisa wena. Allow me though, Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, to make a few remarks on some of issues that are raised in the reports in the debate that has been ensued. Good governance is the foundation upon which we have built the sixth administration. The recent announcement of positive provincial audit outcomes by the Auditor General encourages us to do even more. In her own words, the AG noted, and I quote, "Governance in the Eastern Cape is starting to show a trend towards positive outcomes, with a record number of clean audits. The current term of administration has seen a continuous increase in the number of clean audits. There are 11 clean audits, that is 52%, the highest number of clean audits in the history of this province," close quote. Kungekudala, Honorable Panga, uzaba shocked phaa local government. Therefore, all of us in this house deserve a solid round of applause for this achievement. But for clean audits to have real meaning, they must be accompanied by a progress in the socio-economic status of our people. I stand here proud because during this term, there's been an unprecedented inflow of public and private sector investment into our province. 3 weeks ago, an additional 46.5 billion was invested in our province. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the results of investment in our province are showing in the positive reduction of unemployment rate in our province. The Stats SA third quarter labor force survey results indicate that the official unemployment rate in our country decreased in 6 provinces. The largest decrease in the unemployment rate was recorded in our province of the Eastern Cape, not Western Cape, down by 5 percentage point, followed by Free State, which has also gone down, and others. We want to emphasize that this positive trajectory is because of our deliberate effort, such as forming strong partnership with the private sector, revitalizing our small towns to attract investors, affirming women-owned businesses in the work of SOEs and government procurement, and empowering young people through skills training centers so that they can be employed. Our province needs a genuine, constructive opposition party. If we continue to have what we have been listening on it here today, it's very unfortunate for our province. Actually, soon, you will also be going to look for greener pastures somewhere around Western Cape. We note of the concern of the committees with regards to a number of areas of our work, and I would like to comment briefly on few. I want to assure this august house that we are not going to default on achieving 50% minimum employment equity on women in SMS level. This is the commitment we are making with regards to achieving employment equity for persons with disabilities. The OTP surpassed the employment targets for persons with disabilities in record time. Other departments will definitely follow the suit. Honorable members, the fight against HIV and AIDS took a negative knock because of our focus on COVID-19 pandemic. The theme for World AIDS Day this year was integrate and equalize to end AIDS. This theme recognizes that there is no integration and equality at many levels. In response to this theme, as a province, we took a decision that for this year's World AIDS Day, the focus will be on the LGBTQIA+ community. We urge all members of this House and citizens of the province to join hands together with us, fight all forms of homophobia. The committee raised sharply the issue of sanitary towels for girls. We must all campaign for universal access to sanitary towels for girls who can't afford to buy them. We note the concern of the Standing Committee in relation to elderly women and children who are victims of gender-based violence. We plead with people who have older persons in their families not to leave them alone in their homes because they are vulnerable to these sort of attacks and heinous crimes. Maybe it is about time that black people consider taking older persons to old age homes for their safety and care. Honorable Deputy Speaker, it is the goal of the ANC-led government to provide elderly people with their social grants in a dignified manner. We continue to explore various options of how best to pay social grants to minimize long queues and congestions in our towns. On Isikalo, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Youth Fund, the progressive policy imperatives will continue for the remainder of this term. I do not foresee it ending even beyond this term as long as the ANC government is still in power. Having seen the success of and the growth of the businesses we have supported through the fund, we are looking forward to what the MEC of Finance will allocate in the next budget. So young people are really getting things done right, and Iskalo is really giving them that opportunity to break the ground. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the IGR remains highly important in the context of the district development model to ensure integrated planning program, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Traditional leaders are represented in councils and therefore are part of stakeholders that must ensure successful implementation of the district development model because it will bring integrated development in their communities. The portfolio committee is spot on about delays on the allocation of budgets for disasters. I fought fiercely with the counterparts at the national level about their lack of agility on this matter because many people are still displaced. I've been assured by the Minister of Finance that the money will be dispersed soon. My worry is that we are now in another rainy season, which is likely to cause even more damage on our roads. On the broadband, honorable members, project, the portfolio committee is correct in highlighting challenges in the implementation of the project. There are implementation improvements plans in place to accelerate the pace of connecting sites to catch up with the targets. The broadband project is very key in enabling a universal transition to e-government services. Lastly, Honorable Deputy Speaker and honorable members, we were as equally concerned by violence in taxi industry as it is raised by members of the Portfolio Committee. That is why we set up a task team to mediate between Uncedo Taxi Association and other associations, along with their affiliated also associations. Our intention is is to work with everyone because the Eastern Cape taxi bosses have gone publicly to say they have laid down the weapons and are working for peace. With those few words, honorable members, we can safely say that we are on the path to recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, which hampered our progress, and we are on course to achieve our priorities of this term in building the Eastern Cape we want. We might be seeing each other for the last time this year as the legislature will go into recess for the December holidays. Let me take this opportunity, Honorable Deputy Speaker, to thank the members of the legislature for their oversight role they have played in 2022 to support our work of building the Eastern Cape. I wish members of this legislature a safe and a peaceful holiday season. Auditor General gives us this reflection because you have done your work. You were effective on your oversight. And I can tell you, we are actually implementing the consequence management. Where there are gaps, I can tell you, when we implemented them, some of members from this side were jumping up and down, bengathi ngabantwana ababalunyulwe ebeleni bene-tantrums, bethetha yonke into le ngokokuba sisuspend abantu ngendlela ezirong. We are going to effect the consequence management every time there's something that is not right, so that we don't talk what we are talking about. All those who are employed. In Eastern Cape, employees must understand that they are employed to serve and they will earn their salaries. Baqeshelwe ukusebenza bamkele, abaqeshelwanga kwamkela basebenze. So sicela kamalungu eParliament onke, opposition or not, be on board, work with us. Let's change the socio-economic outlook of our province. Let's join hands, let's work together. Ayizuninceda lento uphikisa bana uphikisa into niphume ngomnyango ningazanga naphatha apha eEastern Cape. Inkosi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Honorable members, we are now, let me put the report first. Agreed. Any objection? Both reports have been agreed to.
Speaker, order.
Yes.
I just want to call an order from the Premier in the same privileges.
Sorry, Honorable Panga, but in front of me there is no Premier.
No, it's sitting there.
So you can't raise an order for someone who is already in his chair. Thank you very much. You've got time to... Honorable members, thank you very much for this very enlightening debate. And now we are going to adjourn for lunch, and you are all invited for lunch at the dining hall, and the lunch will take 40 minutes, not an hour as we normally have it. And the Honorable Speaker will preside after lunch. Thank you. Session adjourned.